The Bleacher Report app is your destination for sports. Right now, the NBA is heating up, March Madness is here, and MLB is almost back. Every day there's a new headline, a new highlight, a new moment you've got to see for yourself. That's why I stay locked in with the Bleacher Report app. For me, it's about staying connected to my sports. I can follow the teams I care about, get real-time scores, breaking news, and highlights all in one place. Download the Bleacher Report app today so you never miss a moment.
Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I've read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's a New York Times best-selling physician, ChefMD, creator of Outdoor RX, and one of his advocacy revising the indoor epidemic with food plus nature as medicine, none other than Dr.John La Puma. Welcome, Dr. John, on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Thanks, Daniel. It's great to be with you. I'm an admirer of your podcast. Like many of the authors that appear, this book is about storytelling and transformation and current culture. As you mentioned, I'm a physician. I practice medicine and a board-certified internist in Santa Barbara, California. I'm also trained as a chef, and I run a regenerative organic farm here. So I'm put those experiences together to write about what I think is a crisis we're all living through without realizing it. It's kind of a slow leak in a tire. And like many of the titles you've explored, I blend some personal stories, a lot of hard science. I read 2,200 studies to produce this book. And it's also a call to reclaim something we've lost.
And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Dr. John. Thank you for sharing to us. Your book centers statistic that we spend 90% of our lives indoors is staggering. What was the most surprising or concerning data point you discovered about physical and cognitive costs of this modern confinement?
That's exactly the right terminology, Daniel. It is a modern confinement. 86% in homes or buildings and 7% in vehicles adds up to 93% inside on average we spend, and just 7% outside, which is less than 12 hours a week. But if we repurpose just 2 of those hours in a week with specific, intentional, targeted action and experience outside, we can regain up to 6 years of biologic age and not lose that time and help to prevent and even treat some chronic disease. I think that's the most surprising finding, that being engaged in nature in specific intentional ways rather than incidental ways, like, you're in the parking lot or you're walking down the street or you're picking up the mail or something like that. But if we're specific and intentional about the time we spend outside, we can change both our sleep patterns, our metabolism, our mental health, our risk for heart disease and diabetes. The list just goes on and on. It's remarkable.
Dr. John, you frame this as an epidemic. Beyond just a lifestyle trend, what are the underlying societal, technological, or architectural forces that we have engineered this indoor dominant existence?
Well, I think it's been a trend really with technology, Daniel. And we've always had technology, but we haven't always spent so much time inside. And of course, it's become accelerated in the last, I'd say, 7 or 8 years, especially with the advent of COVID, which it seemed like the most safe place was inside, that outside was scary. A lot of kids got Chromebooks during COVID, and that made it even safer to stay inside. because you had a digital companion. But what we've learned over the last few years is that confinement has created, as I've said, kind of a slow leak in a tire where you feel a little tired, you eat a little more, you don't socialize very well, you begin to have to take medication for problems that you thought you wouldn't get until you were much older, high blood pressure or sleep problems or anxiety and depression. And it turns out that many of those kinds of problems have accelerated recently, as you know, especially with mental health issues, especially in young people, um, as well as burnout in professionals of almost all ages, but particularly middle ages. And these kinds of issues are related to physical issues, diabetes and arthritis and heart disease, because we have become more sedentary. What Indoor Epidemic does is shine a light on not just what the problems are inside, but really more importantly, how we can use outside as a preventive and therapeutic tool in very specific targeted ways.
Specific targeted ways. Well, Mr. John or Dr. John, how does a chronic indoor living specifically hijack our sleep wake cycle and degrade our focus at a biological level? What is the core mechanism you want everyone to understand?
The core mechanism I'd like people to understand, I'm happy to try to answer that, is that nature is not neutral and indoors is not neutral. Your environment directly affects your metabolism. It directly affects your brain. It directly affects not just your mood, but your physical and mental health. So if there's one thing that people should take away, it's exactly that your environment is not a neutral actor, and your choices within it can be very powerful. Just 10 minutes a day in the morning, looking at morning light, can begin to reset your circadian rhythm, the rhythm that your body organs are tuned to. Your body has clocks, and they run on time or not. And if they don't run on time, your sleep is disturbed. You have less energy and focus. Your metabolism is disturbed. You become more sedentary. And that, of course, can lead to medical problems that I've mentioned. So your environmental choices are powerful. And that's the heart of this book. It's not guilt. It's not grind, certainly. It's much more green because the most overlooked factor I've found in 30 years of medical practice is where people spend their time. And that determines much of what it is that we are able to do. If we spend just a little bit of the time that we're already spending outside intentionally, like I've just mentioned, getting morning light every morning, it has a transformational effect on physiology, on anatomy, and on performance.
Mm. Interesting, Dr. John. The subtitle suggests steals years. Are you referring primarily to the impact on lifespan, health span, or a profound feeling that time is passing without vitality?
Wonderful question. I'm referring to the fact that 80% of heart disease is actually preventable, that 50% of depression and anxiety is actually preventable, that 40% of cancers are environmentally related and likely preventable. And when you take those data and combine them with the data that show that people who live near green areas, like you do in British Columbia and like I do here in California, who have telomeres, which are the ends of genes that are frayed or not and can give an indication of longevity that are more intact than people who live just in cities away from green areas and don't go to the park down the street or don't go to the park just slightly out of town. Those people who live closest to green areas have the greatest longevity. And that's combined with the fact that so many of our diseases are preventable, adds to the idea that you can actually lengthen health span. And health span, as you know, is the time that you're alive, that you're healthy. In our country, in the United States, there's about 10 years of difference between health span and lifespan. You start getting sick about 10 years before you're going to die on average, and you dwindle slowly. Sometimes you have big medical events. The idea is to be healthy up until the very end of life. And that's not where we are now, but being outside in specific and targeted ways, like morning light, like the use of gardening, like the use of forest bathing, like the use of social connection when you're outside. Many people think that being outside is being like at the Pacific Ocean or in the Grand Canyon, but it's not. Being outside and having a nature connection is like having a window box or a house plant on your table. But knowing what to do with that, knowing that the wind ruffles your curtains, knowing that there's a dog by your feet, knowing that there's good lettuce in your salad from someone who you know who grew it, maybe you grew it. Having a nature connection that is targeted can start very small, and it needs to, because most of us do live in the city. We have to access nature very intentionally, but when we do, it has a life-changing effect.
For someone skeptical that being inside could be so harmful, what is the most compelling piece of neurological or psychological evidence you can share about how our brains and bodies literally starve indoors?
When you're indoors, some of the most compelling information comes from studies in Asia where myopia, which is nearsightedness, is epidemic. About 90% of kids, teenagers, young adults, children have myopia, which is often correctable with eyeglasses or with drops. But about 5% of myopia turns into high myopia, which by your 30s or 40s causes severe eye damage and can even result in blindness. And that's often driven by, we believe, device proximity. So that when you have a device and you're looking at it like this, your eyes change shape so that you're focused on your device and not at the horizon or far away. It's been shown in studies of kids who were allowed to go out and play for 2 hours a day with their parents. And this is actually now a public health campaign in Singapore and in other parts of East Asia, that myopia stalls. It stops its progression, and in some cases even has reversed when kids get off their devices that are like this, which are changing the scope of their eye, the shape of their eye, and look out at the horizon and have free play, that change is physical. It's also neurological, and it reduces the rate of high myopia. And that works, by the way, in adults as well. And the brain takes the environment, whether it's air or water or visual sight, as information. And one easy way for us to do this during the workday is to get rid of the tension and headaches that build up by constant screen work by having a 1-minute horizon reset where you can go out, get up from your desk, and look out a window. You don't have to be in a screen or physically outside, and look at the furthest place you can see for a minute. You might only be able to see a brick wall. So then you're going to have to go out maybe to a balcony or to a door or to an open window and look up or look out. And what that does is basically physical therapy for your eyes. It relaxes the ciliary muscles, muscles that are around each eye, so that you're now looking at a distance, just like those kids do when they're out with free play. And that relaxation of those ciliary muscles reduces the tension in your temples and reduces headache, which is common in offices. Like cognitive dysfunction is common in offices, often because our CO2 levels or carbon dioxide levels can be very high in modern offices that slow cognitive thinking up to 15%. And when you get to 1,000 parts per million of carbon dioxide, and some offices have carbon dioxide meters to check the carbon dioxide level so it doesn't get too high, you can actually change the performance of employees and workers with that simple intervention, looking at carbon dioxide levels and minimizing them, sometimes as easily as opening a window.
Dr. John, let's talk about your 7% outdoor core mechanism. The 7% outdoor is a specific prescription. What does that percentage represent? Is it a daily minimum, a weekly goal, or what does the type of outdoor activity or environment matter most?
The 7% solution is simply the other end of 93. We spend 93% of our time indoors. We spend 7% outdoors. That's almost 12 hours a week. And the good news is that you don't need all 12 hours that you're already spending outdoors to make a difference in your health. You don't need all 12 hours um, to fix your environment, for example. You can do it with a minimum of 2 hours, but that's the threshold. It tops out actually at 5 hours. So if you spend 2 to 5 hours, part of that 7% solution in intentional, specific ways, you can, and there are hundreds of examples of how to do this in the book. You can have those ways change your metabolism, improve sleep dramatically, improve the way that you walk through the world with energy and focus, and reduce cellular inflammation and improve longevity at the same time. Many people think that confinement actually, as we experience it now, fuels chronic inflammation along with other exacerbating factors. And that's been shown in some laboratory studies.
Dr. John, as an author, what are your short term and long term goals?
I beg your pardon?
As a New York Times best-selling author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
My short-term goal is to try to give your readers some of the information that they need to make good choices about their environment. My long-term goal is to allow people to begin to look at and experience nature as a missing factor in longevity and in health. We know about nutrition, we know about fitness, we know about stress management, we know about sleep, we know kind of about community, but we don't know that our environment, and specifically how much time we're spending indoors, can tell us about how our body's health, how it can improve our health span. I want America to be able to, and frankly, outside America, I gave a talk in Brussels last year about this, and people understood it right away. And I think Western Europe, in many ways, is ahead of the United States in understanding the importance of outdoor engagement as a factor to create better health. I want people to understand their environment as right now driving burnout, driving obesity, driving depression, and hear that there is a larger story that medicine was missing that they can get ahead of, that our indoor life disrupts circadian rhythm, it disrupts metabolism and our nervous system and creates slow cumulative harm. But if you get reconnection with small, repeatable outdoor doses of nature and nature engagement, if you get microdoses, not lifestyle overhauls. If you take away from things that you're already doing, a few fewer screens, and get more sky and more sea, more specifically, then you can change your own health using a factor that medicine, I believe, has not given enough credibility to: outdoor engagement. In fact, there was a study published in the British Medical Journal just this week showing that walking gave you a 19% overall mortality advantage over not walking. And it was the most powerful exercise for longevity and the most powerful exercise for respiratory health was digging outside in your garden. Gardening can be an intervention for preventing the decline that comes with age. But here it needs to be heavy gardening, digging and chopping. But it was singularly the most important, the most significant preventive tool for death due to respiratory diseases. And I ought to be on every doctor's prescription pad. That's not what's making the news now. What's making the news is that a variety of things for green exercise, we call it, is the most important thing for longevity. And it's true. You don't just need to be in the gym, you need to be outside to reduce your risk for death and to enjoy life fully. But what's being missed is that heavy chopping and digging actually have the most important effect on reducing respiratory risk and respiratory risk of death. And that's what people ought to be engaged in. So being in the garden and puttering is beautiful because we get vegetables and flowers. But doing real work in the garden actually helps to improve your health span. And that's what we're after.
Well, good luck to your goals, Mr. or Dr. John, and looking forward for more success.
Thank you very
And
much.
before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in sixth season, abstract poetry in third season, and of course my book 101 review in sixth season as well, comedy 101 in third season, and food 101 in sixth season as well. Geography 101, love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 are in fifth season, science 101, sex 101, fourth season, and trivia 101, law 101, mental health 101, motivation 101, entrepreneurship 101, and Bible verses 101 are my baby podcasts. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Dr. John, to make it actionable for our listeners right now, what is the very first 5 minute step you would prescribe to someone today to begin countering their own indoor epidemic?
At the very first 5 minutes I've mentioned, we want to get out early in the morning within 60 minutes of waking and experience 10 to 15 minutes of morning sun, even on a cloudy day. Because on a cloudy day, the amount of intensity of light is between 1,000 and 2,500 or 3,000 lux. That's how we measure intensity of light. And that light's important for resetting the circadian rhythm in your brain. That's the rhythm by which all of your organ processes work: how your metabolism works, how your sleep works, how inside of you works. And if you do that, you will begin to make melatonin at night. Melatonin, you know, is a sleep hormone. It's a powerful hormone and you need it, but you don't make it as efficiently or as well, and you don't get the big cortisol activation response, which is the helps your coffee work better in the morning, unless you get that 10 minutes of morning light within 60 minutes of waking or so. So even on a cloudy day, outside is 5 or even 10 times brighter than inside, where we normally have about 300 lux, maybe 200 lux. It seems bright, but because of the quality of light outside, outside is actually brighter and better for your brain. And that's what you need to do just within the first 10 or 15 minutes of your day, within 60 or 90 minutes of waking, for 10 to 15 minutes, to give yourself a biological advantage of having a big wake up, helping your coffee work better, and a good wind down, sleep at night. If you can, look at the dusk when the sun sets, both because it allows your eye to go out to the horizon and it tells your brain and body to get ready to sleep that night. And avoid within 60 to 90 minutes really bright lights, blue artificial lights, white lights. Why? Because it delays melatonin. It delays the onset of sleep for you and doesn't allow you to get what's coming within the first 90 minutes of sleep, first 120 minutes of sleep, first 2 cycles of sleep. And that's called deep sleep. And deep sleep, which you get during the first 2 cycles of sleep, is when your brain cleans itself, which is amazing. This is called the glymphatic system. And it was only discovered in about 2014, where the brain shrinks to less than half of its size and circulates fluid to take out all the proteins and problems that have occurred during the day metabolically. And some of the proteins are tau proteins and beta amyloid, which have been traced to dementia, particularly Alzheimer's dementia. So you want your brain to clean itself, and you won't do that well unless you get that morning light to give you that big activation response and set the table for good sleep that night without bright artificial light within 60 minutes of going to sleep. So that's a full panel of light information that is not just woo, it's science and biology, but it can actually help your body resync with the Earth's rhythm and give you better medical outcomes. It's amazing.
Amazing indeed. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Dr. John. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Will you be my guest on Food 101 and let's talk about nutrition itself? And let's promote your book over there or books. Okay, Dr. John.
Thank you so much for the invitation. People can come to our website for early access to the book.
Definitely. Yes. So, again, thank you so much for being part of it. Can you please invite again our listeners to support all your books?
Yes, come to our website for early priority access to the book. It comes out March 17th. It's at drjohnlapuma.com or indoorepidemic.com. And the book, of course, is called Indoor Epidemic. We want people to be able to access this information and use it to make their health better in a way that I think has been missed in medicine, but is remarkably accessible, not costly at all, and within your grasp. I mean, your body's not broken, your environment is. So let's change the environment so that you have better access to better care.
Yes, people, let's support Dr. John La Puma because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering books like this will rise.
Thank you.
So, Dr. John, you have a lot of books about food, so please do come over on Food 101 and let's talk about it. Like Cooking the Real Age Way. What is it all about?
Cooking the Real Age Way is about recipes that help to make your biologic age younger. I've been interested in longevity for many years, and I wrote that book with my friend and colleague Michael Roizen, who's the founding wellness director and executive chairman at the Cleveland Clinic Wellness Center and the founder of Real Age, which helps to measure your biologic age, your body as you've chosen to take care of it, versus your birthday age, which we all know and sometimes want to disguise. So the book is, that particular book is about 80 recipes that help to make your real age younger. And it's a lot of fun to write. And there is some beginning gardening advice there as well as a little bit of culinary medicine, which helps to blend the art of cooking with the science of medicine to create restaurant quality meals that prevent and treat disease, which I wrote about later in the ChefMD book in 2008.
Okay, so again, Mr. John or Dr. John, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, Daniel.
More to come, people. See you soon.
I beg your pardon?
So